I know I take super pride in this saying I've been 14 years sober. And I couldn't imagine going back to AA saying, hey, I'm Jermaine Dante Burs. I've been sober one day.
Yeah.
I'm the only man on the planet that want you to do better than me.
Yes. I know. I was like, please be taller than me.
Right?
Hello, I am Tony Cooper, host of the Dad Manual podcast, and I am here today with one of my favorite dads, Jermaine. Will you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Jermaine Dante Burs. I'm a visual artist as well as an author and winemaker, and I'm a great dad, and I have a lot of wisdom to share.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about our conversation, Jermaine, because, I mean, if I were to say, like, what is this about? It's about transformation. Like, it's focusing on the work that dads are willing to do on themselves in order to grow, to become the men that their family need, and to discover who they truly are as a part of like the experience of becoming a dad.
Okay.
You are someone who, while you were a dad, experienced probably the lowest lows in your life and now some of the highest highs. And I want to, celebrate the highs, and I want to really acknowledge the journey you've been on about the struggle. Like, you're an incredible artist. Like, here's the one thing is just your art is it's beautiful. It really is. I was thinking about, we get to talk today, and I was like, man, I need some Jermaine's art in my house. I don't know if I can afford you because you're so successful now, but yeah, I mean, that would be a dream. You're a really powerful author. You've written a book about the struggles that you've been through. That's really, really powerful, impactful. Winemaker, in like world famous California, Napa Valley, where you grew up, and working for hospitality. And so in all of that, in all of these wonderful things you've accomplished, you've struggled with alcoholism. You got to the point where you found yourself homeless, living in your car, then like in the hospital on life support, life falling apart. And you've been able to pull all that together again while you're a dad. I know you're a man of very deep faith, which has massively impacted your life and your journey this period. So I'd love to, bring that into the conversation. And I know you have spoken extensively about your journey, primarily to support others who have struggled with addiction. And so just really for our conversation is focusing on like, not just, what you went through about it, your addiction, but, everybody, I always want to know, like, what did you grow up with that put you in the position where you had to make decisions about what you wanted to be in your life? So, we can talk about your childhood and the ideas about that led you to becoming a father, and just sort of the impact that your journey's had on your fatherhood, like ideas now you've gotten as a dad because of the experience, and also the way around. Like, how did being a dad drive your experience and drive your journey through recovery? Just share with me like about your kids, like who they are and how you would describe the kind of dad you are to them.
Yeah, it's a great question. First, thank you for having me on here. I certainly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that the night I went and spoke that, months later, you and I will be sitting on this podcast, but I'm certainly grateful for it. So thank you.
Same.
So, for me, I have a 22-year-old daughter, Natalia, and I have a 17-year-old son. So I had children at what I would consider a young age, right? I was 23 with Natalia, and I was 29 with Jordan. And they each have taught me different aspects of myself I didn't really know that I was still struggling with, right? Natalia, she got the younger version of me where I was still trying to figure myself out, financially, career-wise, relationship-wise. Even though her mother and I were together, that was my first serious relationship. So I didn't know how to navigate the emotions that come with disagreements and conflict, and even the way her mother loved on me, I wasn't ready for that. So I I actually rejected a lot of that love that she used to express to me, and then ultimately, end up breaking us up. So
You know what? Actually, I really appreciate you said that, because I bet a lot of men struggle with that idea of like allowing love in. And I don't know, sometimes I guess it's a self-worth thing, and sometimes it's like not a manly thing? Or could you like trace back to like where did
Well,
that come from? Why was it hard for you to receive love?
I mean, geez, man, without like turning my mother into a villain, she did her best with my sister and I. I was the firstborn, and my mother is an amazing woman, and we have a great relationship now. But we didn't always have that relationship. My father really was that individual that loved on me and was there and comforted me and did all these things. While my mother, because of their toxic relationship, was trying to heal her wounds from the constant battle of being with my father. So
Mm,
she was sort of emptying herself, and I don't want to speak for her, but just my point of view. She was emptying herself, trying to navigate the relationship with my father, that she was actually struggling to really pour into that sort of love that I
mm.
needed. So when I
Wow.
started to receive that love as a young 20-year-old, I rejected it. So I would ask questions like she would always be like, I love you. I'd be like, why do you always say that? And what I didn't understand was that every time I did that, instead of receiving it, I was rejecting her.
Right.
And I truly believe that it led to resentment
Mm-hmm.
because if I share something with you and I'm pouring myself and being vulnerable and you sort of reject it, at some point in time, I'm just going to stop,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or it's not going to
Mm-hmm.
be as frequent.
Right.
And so, as far as me, I didn't really understand and was able to receive love until probably like 6 years ago. And I'm 46.
What shifted? Like, how did you become open to that?
Well, I realized that the older you get, the less opportunities you'll have for that right person to come into your life that really, loves you in spite of yourself. And when you start to see that in people that you're either dating or you're together with, I understood that
Yeah.
at some point in time in my life, in order to have a successful relationship, I needed to be open to receiving that love that someone's willing to give.
Yeah, the idea of like loving somebody in spite of themselves, I think there's even a deeper opportunity with that. It's just loving somebody not in spite of them, but because of them, because of who they are, including all the parts that they probably struggle to love about themselves. Like, talk about the greatest love you can give, like loving somebody where they find themselves to be unlovable. But that's a hard thing to receive. And I totally relate. I really took me a long time to figure out because I just had a pretty boxed, guarded heart.
Hmm.
Like I'm not going to get hurt. It's a good way to go through life, armored up, but it keeps the love out. So to your point, like the ones who want to share love with me are going to get the feeling like that their love is not wanted. Like that's
Yep.
the message I'm giving them. It's not wanted here, and that it took me a long time to overcome that as well. So I appreciate that part of your journey. I do want to go back to like your upbringing and your relationship with your dad. You're in the middle of saying like your daughter got that early version of you and then
Yeah, she got an early version of me trying to find myself as a young man, navigating love, navigating a career, but also navigating the addiction that formed during that time. Because prior to, you know, being in my early 20s, I didn't even drink in high school. But when I graduated, came home, got into a relationship with her mother, and I got a job, I just thought it was the adult thing to do,
yeah.
come home and crack open a brew or, pour
Well,
yourself a
also, I
drink.
mean, growing up in Napa.
I don't know if that had any influence or not.
Okay. Huh.
I don't think that having access to wine as freely as it flows, I don't think that had an influence on my decision to abuse alcohol the way that I did.
Right.
I personally think that it was environmental, epigenetic, and genetic. And it was also a lack of accountability as well, on my part, not being able to say no or that's enough or one is good tonight or I didn't have that ability. So
Yeah.
having a natural addictive personality, it doesn't help when you have no one to say, hey, if you're doing the most or you should really chill tonight. Right.
Hmm.
And so my daughter, she got that version of me, whether she was little or not, she still got that version of me. Now, I will say this, it never prevented me from being a father, like a hands-on, anything you need, I'm there for you. You know, I never put her in danger. I was always hyper cognizant of that. But when she fell asleep or when I was away from her is when I would really take that dive into alcoholism.
I mean, was the dive into alcohol related to the pressures or stresses of becoming a young dad? Because it's a lot. It's a lot, especially if you don't have a lot of good role models or support. I'm not suggesting that becoming a dad made you want to drink, but like we mask things through it. So was there anything going on at that time that accelerated that got you into it more?
That's a great question. I like to take accountability for all of my decisions I made. So I don't want to like hang my hat on the pressures of being a young dad and try to provide for a family. But I will say that being a young dad and providing for a family, because her mother had a son at the time as well, I think that did add to my wanting to alter my reality at the end of the day. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when you get up in the morning and you do the X, Y, and Z and you take your daughter, take her son to school, and then you go to work all day, and then everyone kind of settles down for the night. And you're like, "Ah, man, this is going to feel good."
Right. Right.
And then what ended up happening, though, unfortunately, is, alcohol doesn't announce itself. No addiction announces itself.
Hmm.
It's just kind of this compounding interest progressive thing. And so over time, it just became a thing. And then it becomes a thing to where now it's just out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
And leading up to my son being born in 2009, I wanted to stop. I had lost enough jobs. I had altered enough relationships. I had crashed enough cars. I like lost enough houses. Like I had done enough for like 10 men in a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
And so when he was born, it just kind of continued to lead me into this, hey man, I gotta make some changes. But then again, it wasn't until 4 years later where I made the ultimate change. And that actually led me to be the father I am today.
Mm. Wow. And what kind of a father are you today?
I'm work in progress, but
Mm-hmm.
I show up. I show up when I need to show up, when I have to show up, whether that's financial or emotional or physical, I show up. I'm there emotionally for him and Natalia. My son's in track and basketball. I decided to sign up to be the assistant head coach of the varsity team so I can watch him like have a front row seat
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
his last 2 seasons of high school. Anytime he's on the court or on the track, I want him at any point in time to better look up and know that his father, no matter what was going on, stopped everything to see him perform
Yeah.
and do something that he loves.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. You and I can definitely bond over the value of coaching your kids' sports. I'm not a baseball guy. I had two miserable seasons as a kid, like the worst. And it definitely convinced me that baseball was a stupid sport. And then my son, when he was turning 7, he wanted to join Little League. And he goes, I want to do Little League. I was like, yeah, of course. That sounds great. He's like, and I want you to do it with me. I'm like, yeah, I'll totally do it with you. He's like, no. He's 7. He's like, no, I don't want mom doing it. I want you taking me to practices. I want you to be involved. And I was like, oh,
Well,
okay. Like it was really Jermaine. Like the first time I was like, maybe I'm not the other parent. Maybe I could be the primary parent. And then, man, I don't know who invented Little League, but I hope the purpose of it was love affairs between fathers and sons, because it was the greatest investment I ever made in my relationship with my son. And I wound up coaching at one level or another from the time he was in first grade till when he graduated high school.
wow.
I got a love for baseball out of it. Like I didn't really like baseball, and now I love baseball. I love the game of baseball. And people are like, oh, so boring. It takes forever. I'm like, clearly you don't understand how baseball works. That is baseball. But I also found that there was a direct correlation, seemingly, between whoever was coaching and the quality of athlete that the kid was. Meaning, it always seemed that the best kids on the team were their parents were coaching.
Yeah.
And I always wondered, like, which came first? Was the kid great, and so then the parent got involved, or because the parent was involved, did the kid get great? And I think it's more the latter. I think the
Children.
more involved, I just saw kids getting better because your dad is there and you get to do this with your dad. So, like, what's it been like for you coaching him in sports?
I'd say it's probably a roller coaster ride
Mm,
because, especially coaching, not being the head coach, but being like an assistant head coach, I can suggest, but I don't make the final decision. And I think that watching my son start a few games, and then come off the bench during the season. Like that was hard for me to see because I know his potential. Or when I see him practicing, kind of going 50% instead of 100%, it was hard for me to critique him because I could do that all day, but I have 11 other kids to critique. And I didn't necessarily want to show favoritism to just him
Right.
because everyone's watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really challenging for me, just the emotional roller coaster of watching him, you know, being high when he had a really great game and then being low when he's had like a crappy game and then having conversations on the way home via Bluetooth with the coach and then having to talk about Joe, but he's in the back seat. Like it was really challenging, but I learned a lot about myself and how much we strive for wanting our kids to be great. And the frustrating part is when you see their full potential, yet them not living up to it, allowing them to be themselves and not pushing them too hard. I can only push him so far. He's going to have to do the rest of the work.
Right. Yeah. And you can have all the ambitions for him in the world, but if he doesn't share them or he doesn't believe in them, then there's zero chance it's going to happen. Their belief in themselves, how much is that as dads, like, do we impact?
I ask myself that all the time. I'll mention, individuals like Kobe Bryant and his mentality or MJ and their mentality. And I try to instill those. And I don't know how impactful we are in their early stages of development that lead them into becoming that person, right? With that killer instinct and that desire to give 100% during practice and outside of practice. I don't know if that's an early development thing or that's just a personality thing, right? But I tell you, it is frustrating though.
Yeah.
Because as a 46-year-old man, I see things differently and my drive is strong as ever. But then I had to reflect back when I was 17 and did I have that same drive at 17? Right. The same way I parent my son and daughter is the same exact way my dad parented me. Anytime I looked into the stands, Eric was in the stands. He even coached me in Little League.
Yeah.
Up until I was 12 years old. So
Right.
A lot of the things that I do as a father that worked for me,
yeah,
I use as a mirror to raise my children.
Yep. Yeah. And that's, what I also get really interested in this conversation is where did your ideas of fatherhood come from? And so the obvious place to look is your own dad, your own upbringing. We all have, other influences in our life, but there's just something about the relationship with our dads that gets imprinted in us. And I don't know what your experience has been like, but especially early on, found myself doing and saying things in a particular kind of way that it wasn't me. It was what happened to me. And then it comes out of me as if it were a really good idea. I hated it when it happened to me, but it's fucking coming right out of me in the same kind of way. So what was it like? You said your mom and dad had a kind of traumatic relationship, but what was that like growing up for you?
It was tough because it was always hot and cold, right? It was like I seen this really loving, beautiful version of my father that was a father. And then I seen this really awful partner and as far as a relationship to my mother and my father. So it was like this individual that I saw had the ability to really make someone feel bad, but also on the flip side, the ability to love on my sister and I at the highest level, right? So it was like always this contrast in regards to who he showed up and how he showed up. Now, when it comes to being a father, I have nothing bad to say about my father. Like not even a percent to say about my father in regards to how he treated us, right? We wanted for nothing. He worked to make sure we had a roof over our head, food and transportation, the best schools. We lived in Vallejo until I was 12. And he even made the decision. He said, I don't want my children going to Vallejo schools. We're going to buy a home in American Canyon so that they're bused to Napa Valley, right? So he always thought ahead and it was always about us. It was never about him. Like he didn't say to himself, well, I can save $60,000 if I buy a house in Vallejo and my kids will survive. They'll be okay. He was like, no, I'll spend the extra 60 in order for my children to go to a better school and have a better environment, right? And so that to me just demonstrates that once we were born, that level of commitment he decided to make, he was going to go through it. And up until he passed 4 years ago, let me tell you, he was still that same dad.
Yeah.
It just looked different,
Yeah.
right? And so I remember he said something to me. He said, I was around 30. And he goes, I don't care how old you are. I'll always be your dad. And I kind of blew him off. I was like, yeah, I get it, right? And so my son was born and he started playing little like Golden State basketball. And I needed some advice. So I called him and I said, hey, Dad, I need advice about A, X, Y, and Z. And so he gave it to me. And before we hung up, he says, hey, he says, remember I told you I'll always be your dad? I said, yeah. He said, this is that moment.
This is it. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, you were right. What's interesting is I say the same thing to my son.
Mm-hmm.
And I say the same thing to my daughter.
Okay. Now that you get it, what he was saying, both in terms of you learning to relate to him that way, but also you stepping into that, how would you describe what that is? Like that we get to always be dads to our kids, even though like the traditional role of parenting pretty much finishes by the time they become fully functioning adults. At least then they've got mostly a fully formed brain. They don't need a parent like biologically in the same way that like when you watch animals, like animals are parents until the next animal is grown, and then that's it. Many of them never have another relationship with their kids, but there's something about humans and how we have an ongoing relationship. And I've seen a lot of relationships fail because the parents aren't able to stop treating their offspring like their children.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have to learn how to treat them like adults.
One situation happened that can describe that to me. And there was a moment when I called him and I just wanted to vent. And he started giving me dad advice.
Hmm.
And I got out and I said, hey, Dad, I said, I got to go. He said, you got to go.
Like
I
in the
said,
middle of it, in the middle
yeah.
of his advice.
Yeah. I was like, I got to go. And
Nice.
he goes, I wasn't done, but okay. And so I was like, yeah, I got to go. I'll talk to you later. So we hang up the phone and I text him 5 minutes later and I said, hey, I said, I just wanted you to listen.
Hmm.
Sometimes I just want you to listen.
Mm-hmm.
He calls me back. He says, I'm sorry. He says, you're right. He's like, I need to listen more instead of always trying to parent you, but I can't get it out of my system because it's a part of my personality now. And it didn't hit me until having a 17-year-old son that's semi-independent now that he's driving and wanting to give him advice, but having to be conscious and cognizant enough that maybe he just wants to vent. Maybe he doesn't want my advice. Maybe I just need to be a listening pad.
That'd be a good thing to do, right? In the relationship, to be able to let's establish that as a communication
Mm-hmm.
on your end. Like, I just need you to listen on his end. Like, who do you need me to be right now? What kind of support can I give? It seems like that's a missing piece of the communication.
I think it's a huge missing piece of the communication. I think that it's a missing piece of any relationship though, right?
Yeah.
I think that anytime you call someone, whether it's your spouse or best friend or your children, you know, or even if they call you, I have this habit of saying now, do you want me to listen or are you looking for advice?
Mm-hmm.
Because it establishes already my approach to my children and it's going to establish already the approach to anyone that you're speaking to. Because if they're looking for someone just to listen, you just got to be quiet.
Where your son is now, and as he starts to go through the early 20s where your daughter is, the word witness comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like not like in a sort of a judgment sort of way, but like there's some significance to it because you're seeing it without having to do anything other than that.
Yeah. I mean, my son, he's like this 5'11", hazel eyes, darker complected, you know, head full of hair, massive athlete, right? And he made a declaration a few years ago. He was like, I'm going to be like this light-skinned, nonchalant dude, right? That's how he is. So he never gets too high and he never gets too low. But what frustrates me about that is there are times where I want him to get hot. Like I want to be like, yo, man, like you ran your ass off, you know? And he'll be like, yeah, it was cool. And that's hard for me. That's hard for me because I want to celebrate him.
Yeah.
But I, as a father, I have to take a step back because I'm at a different place. I'm proud of him to where that may have just been another day at the office to him. I tell you, one of the things that I'm learning about myself through my son, one of the things is how I deal with even conflict or uncomfortable situations. Because there have been moments when him and I have had conversations that the temperature has risen, not to like an argument, but to a place that's uncomfortable. And I remember walking away one day and just going back upstairs. I was like, I don't want to deal with him. Right? He's a child. He knows nothing. And I went back upstairs and I remember sitting on the bed and I said, why did I just do that? Because what did I just teach him? That when things get uncomfortable, it's easy to walk away. So I had to take my butt back downstairs.
Yeah.
And I had to sit back in that seat. And as uncomfortable as the silence was after having that conversation, I had to show him, but more importantly, show myself that I can sit in uncomfortable situations, even with the children.
Mm-hmm. That's simultaneously parenting and reparenting. I talk about this Italian author Umberto Eco, who said that what men become is what their fathers taught them when their fathers weren't trying to teach them anything. And
Yep.
it's exactly what you're saying. Like, as soon as you go, I'm done with this, and I leave, you're teaching him by your actions that, yeah, if you don't want to be in a conversation, just leave. Just abandon the person you were talking to. That's how men do it.
Yep. And I want to teach him the opposite, to be able to sit in that space, as uncomfortable as it is, and deal with those feelings that you have. Because what I believe it does is it creates an avoidance personality. And if he starts it now at 17, he'll be that way when he's 47 and beyond.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make for a very good partner to someone when he finally gets married.
Right. Or anybody in his life.
Yeah.
So one thing that, we dads do pretty regularly is screw up.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't go the way we want it to. And we can look back on it and not be proud of how we've done things. So any of those, one, pop to mind, and two, like, what is the way in which you choose to clean that up with your kids?
First, I'll start from the back end of the question and I'll go move forward. I apologize to my children frequently. Like, I don't let more than maybe an hour or less go by once I let my thoughts kick in and settle. And I'll send them a text or I'll apologize, right in front of them. Because number one, I want to teach them that it's okay to apologize if you're wrong. Don't be so prideful that you can't apologize when you know that you're wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of times people will fight their own thoughts and the pride to kick in and be like, I ain't apologizing for nothing.
Yeah.
I don't want my children to be like that. I want them to have like daily accountability for their actions. And then if they hurt someone or put someone in an uncomfortable situation, I want you to be able to apologize for it. And that just happened last night, actually. I came home from a long day at the restaurant, and he was in the living room, in the family room, and he's playing video games. And I said, hey, what's up, Joe? And he just was like, I was like, all right, dang. And so I put my stuff down, grabbed something to drink, go upstairs. Well, 3 hours had passed by. I'd gone back downstairs. I grabbed some more water, went upstairs, didn't acknowledge me. So he finally comes in the room. He sat down in the chair and I said, why are you in here now? I was like, you didn't acknowledge me for the past 4 hours.
Right.
Why now? And he gets up and leaves. And I was like, why do I do that? Why don't I just say, hey, I want to spend time with you?
Right.
Like, I miss you today. I want to catch up on your day. Like, I just want to spend time with you, son.
Right.
It was also feelings that were festering over from the previous night on Saturday, because I'm not a big like MMA fan, but he is. So I find myself watching it because of him, and there was a fight. So I get home and I paid for Paramount Plus so we could watch it together. I thought to be home at 5, and at 6 went by, 7 went by. Text me, he's like, hey, Dad, I'm going to be over at Chris's house watching the fight. I felt deflated at that point.
Yeah.
I went to text him, hey, I bought the fight hoping we can watch it, man. But then I was like, no, because it sounds like manipulation. So I just kind of sucked it up. So I think last night, and what I said to him was, some stuff that was residual from the night before.
Yeah.
And so I apologized to him before he went to bed last night, because it had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with me.
Right. Yeah, the awareness. I mean, how much we always bring our past into the present and color the present moment with stuff that's resolved. And when you look back on it, you're like, man, there's probably 10 different ways I could have handled that.
Easily.
Yeah. And how come I picked the shitty one?
I know, right? Why did I pick the most emotional one?
Right. Well, you're an emotional guy, clearly.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm work in progress.
Yeah. Did you invent addiction in your family? Was that something you inherited? Is it part of like generational trauma? I'm curious, like, because being a dad is such an opportunity to break generational trauma and like commit to not passing on to the next generation what was passed on to us, that was passed on to them, that was passed on to them, that was passed on to them. Like, there's no blame or fault. There's just a pattern. And it's like, if it doesn't stop with me, then I just passed it on. What was passed on to you that you were able to work through?
Alcohol addiction is definitely rampant in my family, especially with the men. So I got hit from both sides. So my grandfather was, my father was.
Mm.
My grandfather was, but I never met him because he passed away at an early age from cirrhosis of the liver. So my mom was 16 when he passed away. So I never had a chance to,
Wow.
get to know him. And so you have that side of it. Then I had an auntie, unfortunately, who just passed earlier this year, and she was an alcoholic, and that was her dad. And then my dad died from alcohol-related cancer. And so now
Oh,
you have my grandfather, my dad, me,
yeah.
my grandfather, me, right? And so you don't see it coming, right? Like I said, it doesn't announce itself. It
Yeah.
just kind of gradually happens. And you tend to kind of blow it off when you hear about like your grandparents, right? Because
Right. Because you're like, oh, it's a different time and they didn't know any better. You can give it a lot of excuses for sure.
yeah, and you tend to say, well, that won't happen to me,
Mm.
right? Like that was them. That won't happen to me. I have control over it. I'm a different person. You tend to talk yourself into these things.
And you were, Jermaine, pretty aware of it while you were growing up. Like it was
Yeah.
something that you noticed.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely
Mhm.
noticed it. But here's the thing. I noticed it up until I was about 8 or 9. And then my father was sober for 13 years. So I had an opportunity to see this individual
Mm.
that really got his life together and his marriage together and found God and was like active, man. He was deacon at the church and leader, head of the choir. And when my grandmother passed in 97, he reverted.
Mm.
So from 97 to 2022,
Oh,
he was back to that.
wow.
He was back to himself.
Wow.
And I actually
Well,
thought,
yeah, what was that like for you to see both the like saving himself from it and then the collapsing into it again?
it was disappointing. It
Mm-hmm.
was really disappointing to see. I can say selfishly disappointing because I wanted that version of my dad back.
Yeah.
But also I can reflect now and think disappointing for him because I know I take super pride in this saying I've been 14 years sober. And I couldn't imagine going back to AA saying, hey, I'm Jermaine Dante Burs. I've been sober one day. That's like one of my biggest fears, right?
Mm.
And so I feel bad for him to have worked that hard, see such a transformation, to then go back to that life and ultimately was his demise.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually thought when I got sober, he would be like, oh man, my son can do it. Then I certainly can do it. But the more research I've done, and I talk about this in my book, the more you realize that there's really nothing anybody can do. It's a journey that someone has to take on their own. And
Yeah.
they have to have a strong case of the want tos in order to get out of that darkness.
When he stopped being sober,
Mm-hmm.
went back to alcohol, you and he were both in your addiction at the same time.
Yeah, and it was cool sometimes because we would drink
Yeah, I
together.
was wondering, like, what was that
Uh,
like?
we would drink together and it was cool when it was, but when it wasn't, it wasn't. And there was one night that I knew that I had to get sober for the both of us because we went to a Giants game and we're pre-gaming and we were in the box suites where they're giving more alcohol. And I drove home from the city to Napa. We ended up getting into this big fight where I pull over the car. We both get out like we're going to fight, but none of us really want to hit each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just like a bunch of nothing.
Mm.
And I remember going home, apologizing to him because he stayed the night. And then I remember saying to myself, I have to stop this. I have to stop this for the both of us and our relationship. Unfortunately, I drank 4 more years later, but in that moment, I was like, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. Man, to get to the place where you're like, "All right, I can see it. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do it not just for me, but for my family." Was Natalia born yet?
Yeah, Natalia was born in 2003, but Natalia, her mother moved her to LA.
Okay.
So I was sober long enough when she would visit.
Uh-huh.
And then when she would leave, I would go back, I would drink.
Uh,
So she never saw that version of me.
How easy was that for you to be able to live like that life with her and then the other life, when she wasn't there?
It's pretty easy
Yeah.
because I felt like it didn't affect her. You know, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil.
Mm-hmm.
There was times of guilt though, like I'm lying to my child or she doesn't know the real me and I wonder about the real me. But for the most part, I was like, well, once she leaves, I'm gonna knock down this pint and I'll feel good again.
Mm-hmm.
Because by that time my body needed it. So I would get to shaking.
Yeah. Now that you know all of that, like what is happening then in that moment? Like what is your body when you say your body needs it? Like if you were painting a picture of what alcoholism does to a body, what's going on?
Yeah, well, it starts to, just like your car runs on ethanol, alcohol essentially is ethanol. So when you are in full of alcohol addiction like I was drinking up to 32 ounces a day. So my body was literally in my bloodstream running on ethanol.
Oh shit.
So when it doesn't have it in its system, just like a car's engine will stop, your body, the chemical reaction will happen, like your body will just stop.
Right.
So what it does is those DTs potentially can lead to a full-on seizure. Actually, anybody that has a hangover, that's your body craving alcohol.
Mm.
So my body was craving that need for alcohol in order to function. So in return, because the tank was empty, it wouldn't function right. And then as soon as I took a drink, oh man, I was good to go. My nervous system settled down. I was focused.
Yep.
My voice wasn't raspy or rattling. I wasn't shaking anymore. I was good.
Which makes it really hard to get out of that cycle.
Which makes it very challenging because it's very uncomfortable. I end up having 2 grand mal seizures because I decided to try to stop cold turkey. When I had those seizures, Jordan, his mother was pregnant, the first one, and he was just a baby for the second one.
Okay.
He doesn't remember any of those situations where the ambulance was called.
And so is that was you trying to get sober?
Yeah. It got to a point where I just wanted to tap out. I was like, I'm done. But I wasn't ready to go into an inpatient program. So I
Right.
was like, well, let me just stop on my own. I'm done with this.
Right. What about Jordan coming into this world connected you to deciding that you wanted to get sober?
I wanted to, but I wasn't there yet. As a matter of fact, while we were in the hospital waiting for Jordan to be born, I had a bottle of half Sprite, half vodka.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the room just drinking it. I was just sipping until he was
Yeah.
born. So, I wanted to be a better father. I wanted to stop when Natalia was born. And I always wanted to strive to be a better father for them. I wanted to be clean for them.
Yeah.
But that drive and that addiction is tough, man. It's a gravitational pull, like a black hole in space. Like once it grabs you, it's hard to come out of.
Yeah. So, and you had memories of a kid before you were 8 of your dad as an alcoholic before he got sober.
Yeah,
And you remember what
absolutely.
that was like?
Absolutely. Just as vividly as I see you right now.
Yeah.
I remember those traumatic moments of my mother carrying my sister in one arm and holding me in the other arm, looking for him at somebody else's house, getting attacked by pit bulls, throwing my sister and I in the back of a convertible car. She just wanted her husband back in the house.
Yeah.
And she was determined she was going to do anything. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And she wanted her husband. And so those are really traumatic moments that I remember as a child. But I also, the strength and resilience of my mother and how much love she demonstrated for my father. That's another thing that I saw too. I saw someone that was willing to risk her life for the person she decided to marry.
Yeah. And then you have memories of him being sober and he was a different guy.
So it's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, he was amazing then as a father.
Yeah.
like, yeah, those traumatic things happen and I never want to, you know,
Right.
I never want to overlook those things, but he still worked 9 to 5 and then, got up every morning like nothing happened
Mhm. Mm.
and provided for us.
Yeah.
He was at every sporting event, no matter what it
Right.
was, every school recital. He'd pick us up after school. He drove trucks at one time and he would shine my shoes and iron
Mm.
my clothes. And he was so proud of me. He would sit me in the driver's seat and we would drive around and for his
Yeah.
deliveries. And
So pretty
I still
highly
want,
functioning alcoholic.
and so was I. And
Yeah.
so was I.
So you learned. Yeah.
Yep.
So, then we become dads, and then like
Mhm.
becoming a father, there's a lot that shifts in us in terms of like all that background is there, all that information. And, there's the who we want to be, like people that we've seen that we've admired. We want to live up to those attributes. And then we've seen bad behavior that we want to avoid or things that happen to us that we don't want to pass on. So as Natalia's being born, what was going through your mind in terms of the dad you wanted to be?
I wanted to be everything that my dad was, but a lot of what he wasn't as well. Like I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
take apart the things that made me feel good about him being the dad, like that made me feel good. And I wanted to not become the dad and demonstrate the same qualities that put us in certain situations like I just described.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually wrote out the pros and cons of like what dad I wanted to be versus the attributes that I wanted to leave behind.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the addiction started to move some of those over to this right side. And I started to become exactly who he was. And that list got longer on the right side.
Were you noticing it while it was happening, or is it like a hindsight thing now?
I was noticing it.
Fuck.
I was noticing it. It's like, you see the train and the track coming,
Mm.
but you can't move your legs because you're scared.
Yeah.
That's what it was like for me.
Wow.
I would go to bed and say, why do I keep doing this? And the next day I would do it. And not just the alcohol, just who I was in general, just my
Mm-hmm.
daily moves. And then I would go to bed right before bed. I'm like, why did I do that? I
Mm.
just want to be different. I knew I could be a better father. I knew I could be a better partner. The next day, same person.
Right. Wow.
It's quite the Groundhog Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's torture.
I mean, look, yours is a pretty extreme version of it, but I think it's definitely the stuff we all do every single day, right? I don't want to be like this, or I want to be better, or I want to stop doing that, and then, given the opportunity, we still make the same choices.
Well,
What changed it for you?
rock bottom, right? And everybody's rock bottom looks different, but mine was pretty severe. So being on life support, being in the hospital for 3 weeks,
Mm.
seeing my family's faces when I, was able to come to, also realizing that, this is other than death. This is as low as you can get, my man. It's nothing but up after this.
Yeah.
And that's what really led me to become sober for 14 years now is, when you do an audit of your life, right? And you sit and you do, okay, well, this served me, this didn't serve me. And you see how much I've accomplished in sobriety versus the 10 years I was drinking. It's like,
Mm.
which one is better for you? And the
Yeah.
older I get, the one thing I always think about is my health, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you're young, like I was in my early 30s, you think you're going to live forever. So death knocks on your door and you're like, damn, maybe I won't live forever. When you get to be 46, you wake up in the morning, you feel a pain. You be like, oh, what is that? And that's the only thing that you think about, right?
Yeah.
So for me, another drive of mine is taking care of my body. My body is my temple now. I work out 6 days a week, cardio, the whole deal. Watch what I eat
Yeah.
because I want to be around for my children.
Right. I know that your kids did not really have a big experience of you as an alcoholic. Your daughter didn't really experience it directly, and your son was kind of too young. What's different in terms of your fatherhood? Like, what do you notice about yourself being a dad? And you're like, yeah, man, I never would have been here with the alcohol.
I mean, I can say number one, just a consistent job, having a career. Like that's the first and foremost thing. Like we were sleeping in our cars.
Mm.
So, one of the things is being a provider, right? Providing that safety for my children. That's one of the big things. And then just being able to get up in the morning and feel good, right? Also, for me, it's changing who I was. Like I was never a bibliophile. I didn't really read a lot. So I wasn't educated on financial literacy or psychology or, any of
Mm-hmm.
those things.
Mm-hmm.
Now I am. So I can pour those things into my children. I would have never been able to do that 14 years ago because I couldn't balance a checkbook. I had nothing, absolutely nothing. Those are a lot of the things that make me a better father and who I am today versus if I would have stayed in that space. Well, first of all, I wouldn't have been here,
Right.
but let's just say that my children would not be the children they are today. They would not have the knowledge they had today.
An incredible journey that you've been on. And then how much, and now art is such a big part of your life and painting. And where did that show up? And how is that part of your, not just your recovery, but also your journey to being this dad that you are now? Like what role has all that played?
Yeah, well, growing up as a kid, I had this passion for art. I would sketch all day, especially if it was raining outside and I couldn't go outside and play with the boys. So my parents supported it, especially my father. So they find me like a art easel and art desk, and I got a hold of a ton of comic books, and I would just sketch and draw, and they loved it. Right, they were supportive of it. It was something that no one was doing in our family, so I was like this anomaly,
Hmm.
and they really
Just natural. Just you had no influence about that at all. That's awesome.
no, just the early influence of watching Disney films and pausing
Right.
them, and
I mean, you see it in the world, but you didn't see it in your family. Like the difference there, Jermaine, is like I know it exists in the world, but it doesn't mean it's for me.
yeah,
Like oftentimes we have to see it in our family in order to know it's mine, but you actually just claimed it.
I did. My mother shared the story. I had a baby book, and she still has it, and it was like the old school Disney Winnie the Pooh. She had some girlfriends over, and it was a pen. And she was talking and she turned around and she goes, "Oh my God, stop drawing in the book." And then she looked at what I drew. It looked identical to the drawing of Winnie the Pooh. So she was like, "Yo." And so from then on, it became, "Hey, let's support this." Right.
Mm,
So I always had the support of my family, my friends. But, if you go back to my childhood, my father had a great job for the city of Vallejo, but entrepreneurship wasn't in my father's forethought. Right. It was stability and working 9 to 5,
right.
stability with benefits, get weekends off to just spend time with your family. That's ideal, right? I didn't want to spend my time in a cubicle working for a company.
Yeah.
So I was like, art might not be for me.
Mm,
Not to
mm,
mention I had an art teacher. I had one art class in ninth grade, and in front of the whole class, he's like, "You're wasting my time. You're never going to be a successful artist. Like, you should just stop now and drop out of my class." He's not alive anymore. I wish he was. I wish
yeah.
he
Right.
was.
Right. Don't worry. God's whispering in his ear.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Hey, look at Jermaine. And so I put the pencil down, paintbrush down between the years of 18 years old and 33 because I didn't think it was for me.
Right.
But when I got out of the hospital and I lost my ability to walk, it sat me down. And I thought a lot about what my future would look like moving forward. I didn't want to go back into hospitality because I didn't want to be around alcohol as much. Right.
Hmm.
And so I started to sketch and then I started to paint and it just became a thing.
Yeah.
And then I discovered Instagram and Facebook and I started posting and friends and family started to be like, "Hey," and share stuff. And then you look up and you're working for corporate projects and private clients and celebrities and you're working with big brands. And it's like, wow, man, like I've done this in 14 years. That's crazy. All because I got sober. Like I
Right.
made that decision to get sober.
Yeah. And just the ripple effects with your kids and them seeing you in the most influential parts of their life back to what they learn and who they become has everything to do with what they see in us. They know your story. Like they may not have a memory of what it was like, but they certainly know your story.
They for sure know my story.
And to see like they can't even probably wrap their head around like this man that they see now and that person that you tell them a story about. That must be, as a kid, you're like, well, if I have a choice between the two, I got the good one now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because, what's beautiful about what I do now is my kids are grown enough to be influenced by it. So I'll bring my son to events or I'll take him to drop off art at some of my higher end clients so that he can see what's possible, right? Whether it's career wise or just, some of them have 100 acres and farms. And I just want him to see that, right?
Yeah.
And then I took him to Sacramento last year to an event where I was donating some paintings and he had just started getting into boxing. And Sugar Ray Leonard walks in and he goes, "Hey, Dad, that's Sugar Ray." And I was like, "Oh, you want to go talk to him?" And he's like nervous. I was like, "Mr. Ray, can my son talk to you?" So Sugar Ray comes to my son and I said, "Hey, he just got into boxing." And he goes, "Let me see your reach." So he puts his arm out to my son and they do like a reach thing and I took a picture of it.
Ah,
And it's those moments as a father remind me why I work so hard and why I'm glad I decided, sobriety was for me
yeah.
because then I could share moments with my son like that.
Yeah.
You know, his favorite TV show is Blackish. So Anthony Anderson was there. So he walks
Mm.
by and he's like, "Hey, Jermaine, man, I got your painting in my house." And I was like, "Hey, can you pick a picture of my son?" And he's like, "Oh, absolutely."
Wow.
And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
and so it's really amazing for my son to be exposed to the things that I'm doing. And to be honest with you, I have fun seeing him have fun more than I have fun because it's
Yeah.
business as usual for me.
But that's also the pride and joy of being a father is, I mean, their accomplishments are so much more impactful than our own
Okay.
because you know who they are. And you always knew, like we were talking about before with the sports, you know what they're capable of. And when they actually achieve what they're capable of, and a lot of it is, yeah, it's our encouragement. Maybe it's our direction, connections, whatever we can do. But ultimately, it's them to do it. And when they do it, there really is very little joy other than like experiencing your kids' accomplishments. I love that.
One of the things that I heard, which was amazing, and it's very true, I told my son this, I said, "I'm the only man on the planet that want you to do better than me. We're the
That's a
only ones that want our children to do better than us."
yes. Yeah. Yes. I know. I was like, please be taller than me.
Right? I want
Right.
them taller. I want them more handsome. I want them more successful. I want them,
Yeah.
to reach heights that I haven't reached yet. Like I want all of those things for him and her. And fathers are the only dudes that want that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. My son, who's a senior at University of Oregon right now, and graduates in June, was just home for the weekend because my wife and my daughter graduated last year from Cal Poly with a graphic design degree, graphic communications. Terrible job market. So her goal was to open an agency at some point in her life, and she thought she'd have a path through agencies to get there, but no one's hiring. So she decided she was going to start an agency. She enrolled my wife, who's been a graphic designer for 30 years, and the two of them launched their business. And we had an event here at our house.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it was like they're a very like edgy branding company and creating experiences. They're looking to leverage AI, what it's going to happen, but ultimately it's the human component. I mean, the experiences that they set up are incredible. But my daughter asked my son if he'd be willing to learn how to DJ the party. And this is my son just sort of took this on, and he like that day borrowed a board from his friend and started like going on YouTube and seeing how it was work and started playing with it and was super critical of himself. He's like, "That was a terrible mix." I'm like, "Dude, you're like literally 3 hours into your DJ career." Fast forward 2 weeks later, he apparently has been practicing a lot. He played the party and like rocked it for like 6 hours. He just kept going.
Wow.
And then on Mother's Day was yesterday. We were pretty chill because of the big weekend, and we were just had a pool party in our backyard, and he just went into our pool bar and just DJ'd again. And he's the house DJ, and his mixes were incredible, and the songs he's playing. And I was watching him, and he was just like really feeling it. He wasn't thinking his way through, which he usually does, and he was just really feeling it. And at that moment, I was like, I'm so glad he can do this, right? I think this is something I can't do, and it's nothing brings me more joy. So I love how you said that. Like the only man on the planet who wants you to be better than him is your dad.
Period.
Hopefully, like
I
right.
mean, for the most part, right? My son's a track star, and he's faster than I was.
Mm-hmm.
And on Wednesday he qualified to get into the league championships, and he ultimately won the league championship in the 100,
Oh,
which
amazing.
puts him into another championship on Saturday. But I'm more hyped than he was. Like
Yeah.
I'm getting up early in the morning. I'm like, oh, I'm pushing him in
Yeah.
the kitchen. I'm like, come on, man,
Yeah.
like get hyped and stuff.
Yeah.
He's like,
So the thing about that, you got to remember back to being that age, because you're worried about what other people think so much more than you are at your age.
yeah,
So he's playing it cool because he doesn't want people to think he's not playing it cool. But my suggestion, be as hype as you want to be. And if he's like, Dad, you're annoying, Dad, you're embarrassing me, you're like, somebody's got to do it. I'm holding the flame until you do, man.
yeah. But I keep myself reserved in the stands. I don't want to embarrass him. But when he did win, there was a moment for him as a proud father. I was like, oh my God, I'm leaking. I never leak. And it was
Yeah.
because I'm not the kind of parent that tries to live vicariously through my children. I got my own thing going on.
Yeah,
But
you do.
I certainly, as a dad, am so proud to see him give his best effort. So even if
Mm,
he didn't win, I still wanted to see him give his best effort. And I saw that. He just happened to win. And
mm-hmm.
that made me really proud as a father. As a matter of fact, earlier today when I was driving, I texted him. I was like, hey, man, I'm really proud of you, bro. I love you. And I do that a lot. Because here's the thing. I was his age. I know how I kind of blew my dad off at that age. I took my dad for granted at that age. I
Mm-hmm.
thought he'd always be around until 4 years ago. And you realize your dad's not always going to be here, man.
Yeah.
And I remember the conversation him and I had when I turned 40. He goes, you getting old, dog? And I was like, you are too. And I said, I can't wait till we celebrate our 50th and 70th, right? I said, that's going to be epic. I didn't realize that he would die 3 weeks later.
Mm.
And everything that he ever taught me, I mean, everything, I could hear his voice, even today, like it was right in my ear, every single lesson he ever taught me, every single one. And because I'm now in a situation of supply and demand, because there's no more supply and there's a demand because it's not here, I cherish those. And my hope is that everything that I've poured into my children, I hope that they get it before I'm gone.
Yeah.
I want to be able to hear them say, good job, Dad, before I'm out of it. Because I won't be around for it.
Yeah. I'm not your kid, but good job, Jermaine.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I heard something interesting. They said that the only time men get flowers is when they can't see them.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair.
And I thought that was kind of deep.
Yeah. I wanted to back you and I were talking about this, I don't know, a month ago, and you were telling me the difference between Father's Day and Mother's Day from a hospitality perspective. I was like, oh shit. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, historically, but it's a broader conversation, about the way society views men and how society views fathers. And, I've had the very respectful argument with some people about how, mothers and women are for valued in society more than men and fathers are. And they said, well, give me evidence. I was like, Mother's and Father's Day. And they said, well, what do you mean? I was like, they start advertising for Mother's Day in February, right after Valentine's Day. I was like, Father's Day just pops up. Like, there's no advertising for it. There's no commercials for it. Like, you don't see extra flowers go spiking up in price. Like, you don't see any of that for Father's Day. And then in regards to hospitality, I said, if you don't book a reservation a month in advance, you can't get it anywhere, from a casual fine dining place to Red Lobster.
Yeah.
You can't get anywhere. Oh, Father's Day, everything is open. You could just walk in on Father's Day.
Yeah. So what's up with that?
Men, to me, our role in society, according to society, is protect and provide, right?
Right.
Not nurture, not carry emotions, not be vulnerable. All the emotions that we're actually born with the same as women. We're told to suppress those things, right? But society has adopted that. So because society has adopted that, and people can disagree with me, the proof is when you look at Father's Day, when you look at Mother's Day, mothers are treated with this white glove service, and they should. They absolutely should. But fathers should as well, and they're not.
Yeah.
There's more takeout orders for Father's Day than there are dine-in for Father's Day.
Wow. This podcast is definitely to celebrate dads in the things, like you were saying before, like good job.
Dude.
Maybe men don't even really need that much, but I do want to give men the opportunity to be able to talk about what this is like, because I think that's probably also something society has taught us. Like, we don't talk about this. It's crazy how many guests I've had, Jermaine, who are like, I've never said any of this stuff out loud or maybe even thought about it. Like, that's the part I was like, well, women definitely think about all the things about being a mom, and there's mommy groups, and like, it is a dialogue. It is part of the entire vernacular of communication is mom this, mom that, mother, and just there isn't an outlet or a vehicle for talking about dad. So that's really what I'm excited about, what we're doing here.
I love what you're doing. I think that, both mothers and fathers need to be equally praised for the job they do with their children. Because both parties are definitely needed in raising, someone that could, be effective in society. I really do think that fathers play a massive, massive role in the development of children, not just boys, but young women and little girls as well.
Yeah.
And I would love for men to be, even if it's amongst other men, to place ourselves on our own pedestal, to celebrate us for what we bring to the table. When something goes down, the alarm goes off in the house. Who's the first person to get up to risk their life for the house? The man. The men do.
Yeah.
And for me, that's love. If you're willing to give up your own life for the people that you have in that house, that is love.
Without even thinking about it. Yeah.
And mothers would too. But if we're keeping it real, if the alarm goes off, she's going to tap and look at you to go downstairs and make something happen.
Yeah, there's a noise.
Not the other way around.
Yeah, there's a noise, and that's a request. Go check it out.
But we do it instinctively, right? Car's coming, someone's coming, you'll risk your life.
Yeah.
That's love.
Yeah. That is the wired in response mechanism of being a parent that is subconscious. That's just an automatic, both good and bad. It's already there. And so what I appreciate, one, when you became a dad, you were really conscious and intentional about it, and what you wanted to be, what you didn't want to be, and what you wanted to break in terms of your family and your family history and your family future. Like, we get to be the people that can create a dramatic shift in the lives of people who are related to us.
Absolutely.
What you were just talking about, dads and stepping into it, it's just beautiful. So I appreciate you so much taking the time to have this conversation with me. We finally got our time.
Yeah.
And I love you, brother. Like, you're such an inspiration in so many ways. And I just full of gratitude for you.
Likewise. I couldn't have said it any better about you as well, man. I love you. I love you as well. Glad we're finally able to connect, and I don't want this to be our last conversation.
We got many more things to talk about. So on that point, until next time.
Okay, till next time.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Dad Manual Podcast. If you liked it, please leave us a rating or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you really liked it, please share it with a dad you love. I'm looking to grow a community of fathers who are ready to change the world, and I need your help to do that. And if you got questions or topics you want me to explore, email them to me at thedadmanual@gmail.com. I would love to answer your questions on our next episode. Until next time, I'm Tony Cooper, and this is the Dad Manual Podcast.